I'm sure many of you have experienced moments when life seems to turn upside down, and solutions simply disappear, as if a dense fog engulfed us. But what if I told you that sometimes, it's precisely in this darkness that the purest light and the most profound miracles happen? Today, I'll tell you the story of one such day, a singular experience in Medjugorje that transformed everything. A day when the fog covered everything and an unforgettable grace from Our Lady reached everyone's hearts. But before we dive deep into this journey, how about a little exercise of faith? Write in the comments below the names of people and relatives who need prayer, and I promise we'll add all of these names to our main prayer with the Rosary, asking for Our Lady's intercession. I used to be that person who lived with one foot in the church and one foot in the world, so to speak. I thought faith was important, yes, but I lived on the surface, too concerned with what others thought, chasing ambitions that never truly fulfilled me. On the outside, everything might have seemed fine. I had my career, my distractions, but inside, a silent dissatisfaction gnawed at me, a void I tried to fill with anything but God. It was as if my heart was covered in a particular fog, preventing me from seeing life's true purpose, leading me to make decisions that today I see took me further and further away from that path of light and truth I knew I should follow, but which seemed too distant, intangible, while I clung to temporary and illusory escapes, immersed in a cycle of guilt and false joy. I carried the weight of wrong choices, unhealed hurts, and a pride that prevented me from truly seeking help and recognizing my own spiritual weakness, perpetuating an incessant search for something that would complete me. It was this restlessness disguised as normality that, in some inexplicable way, led me to Medjugorje. It wasn't a sudden calling nor a great revelation, but an almost skeptical curiosity, fueled by friends who spoke so much about the place and the extraordinary events there. I thought, well, it can't hurt, and at the very least, I'll get to see a different place. The truth is, I was looking for some kind of confirmation for my lukewarm faith, or perhaps, secretly, confirmation that it was all fantasy, so I could continue with my life without any major questions. I clearly remember the first day, arriving at the village nestled between mountains, the air charged with a different energy, people from all over the world praying with a devotion I hadn't felt in a long time, songs in different languages filling the air, and an almost palpable peace that contrasted sharply with the hustle and bustle of the life I had left behind. Even with this enveloping atmosphere, my heart remained somewhat closed, as if an invisible barrier prevented me from diving headfirst into that ocean of faith, observing everything with a wary eye, searching for a flaw, a detail that would prove my own premises. In the days that followed, I attended Mass, followed the Rosary, and climbed Kruisevac, the mountain of the cross, feeling the hardness of the stones beneath my feet, perhaps a reflection of my own heart's hardness to open. I saw people crying, others in ecstasy, and there I was, a mere observer, wondering what they were feeling. The stories of apparitions, the miracles recounted by other pilgrims, seemed like distant, beautiful tales, but they didn't fit into my pragmatic reality. I tried to pray, but the words came out empty. My mind wandered to worldly concerns, the emails I needed to answer, or the next tasks at work, demonstrating how deeply my faith was still rooted in a strictly materialistic logic. There was a constant buzz about Our Lady's graces there, about inexplicable conversions and astonishing healings, but I maintained a safe distance, as if, by surrendering myself completely, I might lose a part of who I was, or perhaps confront truths I preferred to ignore. This internal resistance was a silent battle, fought with every step, with every prayer that escaped me, a barrier separating me from the true spiritual depth that the place exuded and that, deep down, I secretly longed for, though I wouldn't admit it even to myself. But then came the day. I remember that unusual sunrise perfectly. It began with a light morning mist, which gradually grew denser and denser, engulfing the mountains and then the village itself. Soon visibility dropped to almost zero. I was outside the church, waiting for the afternoon rosary, when I was suddenly enveloped by this milky curtain. It was no ordinary mist. It was thick, heavy, almost tangible. People's voices became muffled, the silhouettes of buildings disappeared, and the sound of bells seemed to come from a distant world. A sense of profound and unexpected isolation washed over me. Those familiar faces of the pilgrims were now mere shadows, and I felt disoriented, confused, a tiny speck lost in a universe of white and gray. The usual calm of the place was replaced by an oppressive silence, interrupted only by my own uncertain footsteps and the distant murmur of voices. It seemed as if time had stopped, and in that dense veil surrounding me, I was confronted with my own insignificance, with the inner emptiness I had so desperately tried to avoid. It was within that fog that curiosity transformed into a tangible experience. As the atmosphere outside grew increasingly indistinct, I decided to take refuge in one of the more private prayer spaces, feeling compelled to kneel. I don't know how long I stayed there, just listening to the echo of my own prayers, which had previously been empty, and which now began to well up from a place deep within me. Amidst the dense white layer outside and the darkness within the small prayer space, I began to cry. And they weren't tears of sadness, but of a release I hadn't even known I needed. It was a moment of genuine repentance, where all my vanities, my mistakes, my pretensions came to the surface. But along with the repentance came an overwhelming certainty, an unmistakable presence of a peace I had never felt before. It was as if the fog outside was clearing the air, while the fog in my heart was being purified, dissipated, revealing a clear and unobstructed inner landscape. My mind, previously noisy and agitated, quieted, and for the first time, I didn't feel alone in that silence, but deeply loved and supported by a greater power that I was finally allowing myself to feel and embrace. And then the miracle happened, not a light show, but something much deeper. In that moment of sincere prayer and total surrender, an image formed in my mind. Not a vision, but a powerful conviction, as if the words were being whispered directly into my heart. I saw my life as a rosary, where each bead represented a moment, a choice, and many were tangled and faded. And Our Lady's grace for me was the certainty that she was there, taking that tangled rosary, untying the knots one by one with patience and love. I felt an urgent call to forgiveness, to forgive others, but most importantly, to forgive myself for my mistakes. When I arose, the fog outside hadn't completely lifted, but within me, the sun was already shining brightly. It was a clarity of purpose, an unshakable decision to live a life of true faith, of sincere repentance for wrongdoing, and of constant pursuit of divine grace. The miracle wasn't the instantaneous disappearance of the external fog, but the complete dissipation of the mist that had enveloped my spirit for so long, revealing a faith that seemed to blossom in that instant. Back in the real world, my experience in Medjugorje became my guiding light. The clarity of heart I gained amidst the fog taught me that life is a continuous pilgrimage, where we will face countless fogs, problems, challenges, doubts, but also opportunities to grow in faith. I learned that, just as the air became heavy and confused there, our routine can become clouded by stress, arguments, and hurt. And in these moments, daily prayer, the Eucharist, and the Rosary are our points of light, the compass that keeps us from getting lost. This experience impelled me to seek a true conversion in my daily life, to be more patient, to forgive more easily, to seek peace of heart, and to be an instrument of conversion for those around me, always reinforcing the need to have more faith, to trust in the love of God and Our Lady, who never abandons us. Therefore I reaffirm, Be sure to mention the names of people and relatives who need prayer, because shared faith, community prayer, has immense power and moves mountains, helping to dispel any fog that may appear in their lives. Friends, the truth is that the day the fog engulfed Medjugorje and I received a miracle from Our Lady is more than a personal memory. It has become a powerful metaphor for the problems we and the world are experiencing. That literal fog that disoriented me and forced me to look within, I now see as a perfect symbol for the crises, the uncertainties, the difficulties that obscure our vision and test our faith. But just as Our Lady's intercession and my sincere prayer were able to dispel the inner fog of my heart, showing me a new path, so too the challenges of life and the world can and should be overcome by great faith, tireless prayer, and unbreakable union with Jesus Christ and Our Lady. It's a reminder that, even in the greatest darkness, there is a light waiting to be discovered, and that our perseverance in faith is the path to overcoming any obstacle. The fog is not the end, but the chance for a new beginning, for a new and deeper experience with the divine. May this story inspire you to seek your own light and to trust even more in the protection of Our Lady. I'd love to hear what you thought of this story and what reflections it brought to your life. So please leave a comment below about the topic of faith in times of uncertainty, or about your own experiences of overcoming through prayer. Don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed it and, of course, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our future stories and messages of faith. Thank you very much. And may the peace of Christ and the love of Our Lady be with you always.